Dear Lord, we express thanks for our blessings this evening. We ask that you protect our law enforcement, protect our servicemen and women that are serving here and abroad. We ask for your guidance and direction as we make decisions for our community. And we just ask special blessings this holiday season, especially for those that maybe are struggling and have no one to share with. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I will now call to order the Tuesday, December 6, 2016 meeting of the Jefferson City Council. Mrs. Powell, roll call, please.
Branch.
Here.
Graham.
Here.
Henry.
Here.
Hussey.
Here.
Mahalovich. Prather.
Here.
Schreiber.
Here.
Ward. Here. Wiseman. Here.
This time I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 4, miscellaneous agenda items, and this is always an honor to present the Kevin Meinhardt Service Award. And I'd like to start with Mrs. McMillan to explain the award this evening.
It's my pleasure to announce the Kevin Meinhardt Distinguished Public Service Award. Kevin Meinhardt served on the Jefferson City Board of Adjustment from 1997 to 2012. Kevin demonstrated during his lifetime his commitment to public service and continually represented the highest standards in ethics and professionalism. The citizens of the City of Jefferson, the Mayor, and the City Council expressed their gratitude for the example set by Mr. Meinhardt, and thus the Kevin Meinhardt Memorial Award for Distinguished Public Service was born. Just to make you all aware, nominations can be submitted by any member serving on the City Board, Committee, or Commission, including any staff liaison and City Council member. The candidate selected displays public service devotion, excellence and professionalism, outstanding enthusiasm, and reflects the highest ideals of citizenship in their conduct. This year's recipient served on the Planning and Zoning Commission for over 13 years. He served the community with extreme professionalism as the chairman of the commission by always respecting the people who wished to speak at the monthly meetings, particularly when things became contentious and sometimes rather heated. He always maintained control of the meetings in a manner that represented the city in a good light. On a number of occasions, as a meeting began to become quite redundant with the individuals wishing to comment for or against a particular case, he would find a very tactful way to discourage individuals who wished to make the same point that had been made numerous times that evening, but still allowing them to feel heard. He always was well prepared for meetings, taking time out of his schedule to visit locations, discuss with staff the numerous issues that were involved with a higher profile case, and always was well versed in the issues that came before the Planning and Zoning Commission. He is a retired Missouri State Highway Patrolman and always brought professionalism into his duties for the community. It is my pleasure to congratulate this year's recipient, Ralph Robinette. Please join me in expressing our gratitude. And I would also like to say that Cindy Meinhardt, Kevin Meinhardt's widow, and Molly, their daughter, is also here this evening. And
Wonderful. We are so glad to have all of you here this evening, and I can't think of a better way to honor your husband and father, Kevin Meinhardt, for his service to the city. And what this really reminds us is really the backbone of what the city does is a lot of our boards and commissions, and they're all made up of volunteers that spend their time and dedication because they truly believe in the city and making it better. And we really couldn't do it without the volunteers that serve such an important role in advising the council and making the city a better place with their hard work that they do. And I also can't think of a better recipient of this year's award, Mr. Ralph Robinette, and all of his years of service to the city. And I go way back with Ralph. After I saw the nomination, I realized that Ralph has known me since before I was mayor. In fact, I think he probably knew me the day I was born. He's known me for a long time. But I grew up knowing him as a highway patrolman, and then to see in his retirement how much he's given back to Jefferson City. So I'm honored to present this award, and at this time, I'd like to ask the Meinhardt family to come forward and the Robinette family to come forward, and I will be happy to present this plaque. Well, it is my honor to present this award. It says, the Kevin Meinhardt Memorial Award for Distinguished Public Service, presented to Ralph Robinette in grateful appreciation of your volunteer service to the City of Jefferson, December 2016. So please join me in congratulating Ralph Robinette. And Ralph is joined by his wife, Gloria, and his children, and also son-in-law. So we're very glad to have all of you here this evening, and also to have you here as well, and appreciate you carrying on Kevin's legacy and doing this for the city every year as well. So why don't we all stand up here, and we'll get a photograph of everybody together. So thank you. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thank you again, Cindy and Molly, and to Mr. Ralph Robinette. It's always an honor to present tonight. Item 5, public hearings. We have a voluntary annexation, and we will start with Mrs. Powell reading the bill.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, providing for the voluntary annexation of 9.0 acres of real property contiguous to the present city limits into the City of Jefferson, Missouri, said property being located in Section 2 and Section 3 of the Meadows by the Club subdivision in the County of Cole, State of Missouri, and amending Section 1-17 of the Code of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, defining the existing city boundary by adding one new subsection pertaining to the same subject.
Thank you. At this time, I will open the public hearing and ask if there is anyone here to speak. Well, before we do that, let's have the staff report on that. Mrs. McMillan.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The city received several voluntary annexation petitions from this area, all 11 owners on Pinehurst Court, and 6 out of the 8 townhomes on Pinehurst Court that are being processed at this time. This section of Meadows by the Club subdivision was platted in the early 1990s. It was actually platted with a part of the subdivision in the city and part of the subdivision out of the city. So several of the owners of the townhome areas that are shown in green applied for annexation, and so that's what's coming before you this evening. So of the 25 property owners located in the unincorporated area, 18 signed petitions for voluntary annexation at this time, and we've received an additional 2 more that will be processed separately. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of council? Okay, and at this time, we'll ask if anyone's here to speak on this item to please come forward.
Leonard Steinman, 2217 West Edgewood, Jefferson City. This is the first time I've ever seen an annexation with quality towards the city. This neighborhood is a quality neighborhood, and we need it. It's about time they come in and they finally realize that there's not enough sheriff protection for them with the way things are going today. So that's the reason why they're asking to come into the city. Please think about it.
Thank you. Is there anyone else here this evening that would like to speak on Bill 2016-72? Okay, hearing none, at this time I will close the public hearing portion and we will have council questions and deliberations. And I'd like to take a moment to thank staff, Janice, Mrs. McMillan, for your department that's worked hard with the neighbors. And this is a very natural annexation just based on the proximity to city limits and that most of that entire neighborhood is in the city limits. And it's always a great mix when you can find contiguous property and then have the willing property owners. And I know there's been a lot of interest and enthusiasm from this neighborhood to come into the city limits for several reasons. I know some of the neighbors cited police protection, fire protection, also lower sewer rates, and the opportunity to participate in the single stream recycling for a lower rate than what they're paying as a county resident. So there were a lot of win-win situations, and we were glad to see this voluntary annexation. Councilman Graham.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I just wanted to say that I remember talking about this area when I first came onto the council several years ago. So I'm just very happy to see us at this stage and point now to whether the voluntary annexation can possibly move forward. So it's been a long time coming. We have had several meetings. So thanks city staff for setting up those meetings and the residents. And so, but it's been a long time coming. Thanks.
Great job in the 4th Ward for getting this all together. All right, any further council comments? All right, Mrs. Powell, roll call, please.
Branch.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward. Aye. Wiseman.
Aye.
Bill passes. It's exciting to see the population growing for Jefferson City. That's great news. All right, item 6, appointments by the mayor. There are none this evening. Item 7, presentations from staff, consultants, and invited guests. We have with us tonight Diane Gillespie from the Convention and Visitors Bureau to present the budget. Welcome.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor and Councilman, for inviting me to come and share our 2017 budget for you, which I think you all should have on your iPads. So I'm just going to briefly go over and highlight some of the revenues and some of the expenses, and then if you have any questions. So our total revenue for 2017, we're projecting at $1,153,479. That is a 21.46% increase over the 2016 budget. That gives us a 2% increase in the rooms lodging tax. And the other larger expense is the prison tour tickets, which is a 37.72% increase. The other categories are categories that we've had in the past, and we've just increased revenue or kind of moved around some of the numbers. Payroll expense, we're still at 25% of our budget with a 2% salary increase for the staff. Administrative and general expenses, we have reduced that this year with our move over to the Marmaduke home has helped us on some of those expenses. So we were able to reduce our administrative expenses by 8.6%. So currently that is about 10% of our total budget. Marketing expense, we have increased that. It is now at 55% of our total budget, which is where we want to keep it up. That's what we want to spend our money on, is marketing Jefferson City to bring events and visitors into our community. And then we have also put in reserve $105,000. And if you remember with our agreement that we have with the state for MSP, any net profits that we make off those tours is to go back into preservation. So we're putting $105,000 in reserve for any projects that will come up during 2017. For this year, we repaired the wall on Housing Unit 3, and we currently have a new light project going on in Housing Unit 4. So that's going to cost about $100,000 this year that we've done in repair work on MSP. So, any questions?
Thank you. Any questions of council?
Come on, you guys.
Since you asked, I'll ask one.
Okay, thanks,
Councilman
Carlos.
Graham.
Thank you, Graham.
You talked about $105,000 going into the reserves. When you look at your reserves, where are you guys sitting at with your reserves as a whole? $460,000. Okay. Is that on top of the 105 is going to be put in there, or is that minus? Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Councilman Mahalovich?
Well, as liaison, I'd be remiss to say how hard the CVB worked this year to move from the building downtown to the Marmaduke House, and what a boom that has been. I don't know that specifically the number of visitors
Sure.
to the museum that has just grown, but also the visitors to the MSP is exceeded 30,000, and we're at
Yeah, for the museum, we're about 6,700, and last year we just about hit 2,000. So we knew that with the location move that it would increase numbers, but to be honest with you, we were not quite prepared for those numbers. As for the prison, we are at 32,600 for this year.
And I will add that 32,600 is up from 3,000 in just 2009.
Right.
That
Yes.
is quite a substantial increase.
And we continue to grow that facility.
And I think
Councilman
it's worthy of noting that also, with the long-term contract we have with the state, this has allowed them to book
Yes.
motor coaches years in advance. So this long-term lease really had its payoff in terms of motor coach sales down the road, as well as
Absolutely.
a great working relationship with OA, because they're handing the Travis Tritt the concert there. They put a lot of money and time into that facility. So it's not just us putting
No.
money in. There's a partnership and a shared resource that they're putting money in as well.
Absolutely. We have a great partnership with OA, and we look forward to continuing that relationship with them in the use of MSP.
That's wonderful, and I appreciate your time as the liaison to the CVB, Councilman Mahalovich. And I know there's a tidbit that I think every group hears me talk about when I talk about Jefferson City. It's something I learned from you, Diane, is that Jefferson City is the only city in the country that has a state capitol, a river, and a historic prison. We're
Absolutely.
the only one in the whole country, and I appreciate you marketing all of those things for Jefferson City as well as you do.
We have a great team, but the only success that we have is with the city leadership behind us and the city departments. And I'm still amazed that everyone will still continue taking our phone call, because they usually know that it's going to be an ask out there. But we do want to promote city. We do love it, but we appreciate everyone's support in making us be able to make that happen.
And I'll take this opportunity to mention, too, that as I'm out and about in the community, I often hear Chris Wilson's name mentioned, and people say if they've had any dealings with him bringing in sports tourism and sporting events, they have said wonderful things about him on
Absolutely.
a consistent basis. So
Yes.
I do want to say how much we appreciate his work. And your
Absolutely.
entire staff, of course, they work extra hard because you have a very lean budget for staff.
We do.
And the amount of work that you do and visitors that you see based on that is very impressive.
Absolutely, yes. And as a reminder, I want you all to mark the date of August 21st of 2017 for the total solar eclipse.
It's a bad day for us.
I know, I think I'm going to leave and go out of town. It's going to be wonderful. Don't say that.
We'll wear our special glasses to
We
the council
will,
meeting. and
absolutely.
we'll have
Yes,
a-
we will have glasses.
In
so
all
just be
seriousness,
prepared.
that'll be a very big day
It's
in
gonna
Jefferson
be a
City
very
because
big
we are
day.
a prime viewing area.
Yes,
So people from all over the world have already started booking rooms.
absolutely. The hotels have received call from UK. We have some from Scotland booked, and yeah, it's going to be a big day in Jefferson City.
It is. So we'll be getting prepared for that. All right. Any further discussion about the budget? Yes.
I want to personally thank you, Diane, for all the time that you and your staff have given to to making the museum a success, and I've thoroughly enjoyed working with you and hope that we can continue to improve the museum as we go along. So that goes for you and
Thank you.
and all the other staff that we've worked
And I will
so
share that with them, but we appreciate you,
Well, thank
Mr.
you.
Schreiber, for your assistance.
Thank you. All right, at this time, I'll have Mrs. Powell read the resolution, and then we'll entertain a motion.
A resolution of the City of Jefferson approving the 2017 budget of the Jefferson City Convention and Visitors Bureau.
Is there a motion?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Graham.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward.
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Branch.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Thank you again, and please share with your board and staff that we appreciate their work. Thank you. Item 8, announcements by mayor, council, and staff. I'll start with my announcements this evening. And first of all, I do want to ask if there are any scouts in the audience this evening. I always like to recognize if we have any. I don't see any tonight. And I will touch on the class and comp study. The council held a work session last Monday night about that subject, getting an update from our consultant. And the next step in that process is at our next city council meeting on Monday, December 19th, that item will be reviewed and introduced. And at that time, council can ask questions, and if the public has questions, they're welcome to. Some questions that were raised during the work session of staff and of the consultant, Mr. Kroll has drafted a response with a memo addressing those answers, so we'll make sure that council gets all the answers, and if there's additional questions, we'll make sure everybody's clear on any questions for the class and comp study. So again, that will be Monday, December 19th, that it will be introduced, and it's something that the council will still have an opportunity to make sure everybody's clear if there are any other questions and deliberation about that. Also, we've had a very busy holiday weekend in Jefferson City. Starting last Thursday, we had the mayor's Christmas tree lighting ceremony, and I would love to take this opportunity to thank Parks and Rec. They put on an event at Rotary Park with the mayor's tree, and if you haven't seen it, I would really encourage you and your families to go to Bolivar Street at the end of Bolivar and see the mayor's Christmas tree. It's a Frozen theme this year, so you'll see kind of a really beautiful blue tree with a Frozen theme, and it's the most impressive tree I think I've ever seen. And we had families and school choirs and people really enjoying that area last Thursday night when we did the official tree lighting. But please, everybody, enjoy what the city has to offer at Rotary Park with the mayor's tree. And again, a very big thank you to Parks and Rec for decorating the tree and putting on a great event. We also had then Friday night a very successful Living Windows, and Saturday was the Christmas parade, and Sunday, actually in Columbia, was the honor ball for the honor flight, and it was my first time to attend that event as well. So it's been a packed few days, and with more fun holiday festivities in the city to come. So I appreciate all who can come and enjoy those, and Parks and Rec, and then we also had a big presence from the police and fire. I know the fire department was on hand with the fire truck for the kids to see at the Christmas tree lighting. And when I was in the Christmas parade, I think around every corner I saw police officers stationed with the big crowds that we had coming up for the parade. So appreciate all the extra effort and work that goes into those events by our public safety departments to make that happen. So those are my announcements. Does council have any announcements under item A for any of their committee meetings? Councilman Henry?
Yes, just a reminder, Public Works and Planning will actually be at 11:30 and not 7:30 this upcoming Thursday here at City Hall.
Great. And the public can see the calendar at jeffersoncitymo.gov for meeting calendars and agendas, times, and locations. And item B, Mrs. McMillan has a couple exciting announcements for us.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'd like to invite you to grab your coats, hats, and gloves and join us at the Purple Ripple Glass Bin on Thursday at 4 p.m. for a celebration of the city's 5th anniversary of glass recycling. So Mayor will be there, and representatives from Ripple Glass and staff, of course, will be there to help celebrate 5 years of glass recycling in Jefferson City. So you'll be interested to know that Jefferson City consistently recycles about 500,000 pounds of glass every year. And so we're one of the top producers of glass for Ripple Glass.
Wow, I did not
So-
know that. That's pretty
We're
impressive.
productive.
Wow, productive.
Yes, thank you.
And I actually have a couple of empty bottles in my car waiting to bring on Friday. I've been driving around with them. That doesn't sound good, but it's, what I'm saying is I'm making sure I'm showing up Friday with glass to recycle. So I hope that everybody saves all of their glass, any kind of glass, food, whatever those containers may be, to save them and recycle. But that's impressive, our good numbers. So I will be there Friday night, excited to celebrate. And you have another
Thursday.
announcement, item C.
Yes. On Thursday, also, at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting at 5:15 in the council chamber, this room, the commission will be hosting a presentation from the Capital Region Medical Center and H3 Studios on the Old Munichburg South Side neighborhood plan. So I want to invite the council, staff, and the public to attend that presentation on Thursday at 5:15.
Great, I will be there. Any questions of Janice about the event or the open house? Okay, I'm looking forward to hearing the findings of the open house as well. Item 9, Lincoln University. Jonathan is not with us this evening, but I know there are exciting things happening with Lincoln. There are some basketball games coming up, and I believe Thursday night there's a game. So basketball season has started, and this evening I also believe they introduced the new head football coach. They had a reception for him also this evening, so we'll look forward to welcoming him. I believe Mr. Smith is his name on staff. And we'll wish Jonathan luck with finals. I'm sure he's in finals week as we speak. Item 10, presentations from the gallery on specific bills, and okay, we don't have anyone signed up for this one. Item 11, consent agenda. Is there, oh, excuse me.
I think that might have been a mistake. They would have liked to.
Did they want to speak up to a specific bill? We do have two people signed up. We have Leonard Steinman and Kathy Bordner. Actually, I think Kathy's is here about a specific bill. So at this time, we would ask Mrs. Bordner to come forward to speak on the Capitol Avenue bill. Welcome.
Thank you. And I have 5 minutes or 3 minutes or?
This is 5.
Okay. My name is Kathy Bordner, and my husband Dave and I live at 718 East Capitol Avenue. And we want to, I believe that you're going to introduce the East Capitol Avenue area urban renewal plan tonight. And we want to encourage you to approve that plan. We feel that it's not a perfect plan, but it lays a foundation for doing what needs to be done in that neighborhood. There is language in the plan regarding combining parcels, and we worry that there might be a desire to combine lots and demolish a lot of buildings and build a large structure there. But we think that by putting the mission statement of the Central East Side Neighborhood Plan into the urban renewal plan, which I believe that has been done, it calls attention to the fact that the emphasis of the Central East Side Neighborhood Plan was on preservation. And we also believe that if you approve the Capitol Avenue Overlay District with design guidelines, which I think is going to be on your agenda in the future, if you approve that, then those design guidelines will protect against inappropriate new construction going into that area. We want to take an opportunity now to encourage transparency as you move forward. With transparency, the public can learn about the plan and give input, understand the plan, and support it. And it's really, really important, and I know you all are aware of this, that you have the support of the public as you move forward with this. Many in the community are very interested in this area, and they're even passionate about it. They're willing to help in different ways, and I think you've probably heard from some of those individuals or organizations, and they can understand the plan better and see what opportunities there are for their participation if they're educated about it, if they know about upcoming meetings where the plan's going to be discussed. We encourage the city to develop a user-friendly format for the public to learn about upcoming meetings when the plan will be on the agenda. And we believe that something like a Facebook page where anytime there's going to be a meeting where the plan will be on the agenda, it gets posted to that page, sort of like the Downtown Association's Facebook page. You can go to that and you know every event that's coming up with the Downtown Association, something like that, so that if Planning and Zoning, Housing Authority, a city committee has that plan on your agenda, it would go on that Facebook page. We think that identifying buildings that are salvageable should be a priority, and we want to thank you and city staff and the Housing Authority for moving quickly on this and for doing the blight study and putting the time and effort into that. We appreciate the hard work that the council, Janice McMillan, city staff, the city Housing Authority Board, Planning and Zoning, and others have put into this matter, and we encourage you to pass the plan that is before you. And just to summarize, approve the plan, provide transparency moving forward, develop a user-friendly format for notifying the public about meetings, make identifying buildings that are salvageable a priority, and pass it Capitol Avenue Overlay District and design guidelines as soon as possible. That is a very high priority. And that's it.
Thank you, Mrs. Bordner. Are there any questions from council? All right. Thank you very much. Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Hesse.
Not a question, just a expression of appreciation to you and Dave that I know years ago you have advocated to at least me about this particular area, and it takes community leaders like yourselves to push this through and give us support and staff support. So thank you for your tireless efforts. I know we have a ways to go still on a lot of this, but it takes a lot of time and effort to come to council meetings, to come to the public open houses, to stand up and speak as much as you do, to be the voice for that area. So
thank you very much. That's very kind. I would like to give you my comments in writing, if I might.
Sure, we could take those here. Mrs. Powell will take those and distribute them. Thank you, Kathy. All right. Item 11, the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Item 12, bills introduced 2016-76.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending Section 19-401, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Schedule J, Parking Prohibited, Subparagraph A of the Code of the City of Jefferson by the addition of portions of Broadway Street.
And Mr. Bangy?
Yes, thanks, Madam Mayor. Recently, the 300 block of Broadway, we did an overlay of that area, and we then restriped the street, creating some better lane alignment across McCarty Street. And when we did that, we created a left-hand turn lane, and in doing so, we squeezed an area that had been used for a single parking spot. And so what this bill would do would be to remove that single parking spot to better accommodate the traffic going through that intersection northbound towards the Capitol.
Any questions for Mr. Bangy? Thank you. 2016-77.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending Section 19-401, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Schedule V, Accessible Parking Spaces of the Code of the City of Jefferson by the addition of portions of Clay Street.
Thank you, Mr. Bangy.
Yes, this is thereby the Clay Street Bike Plaza that we constructed, I think we finished about 2 years ago. And when we built that project, we had constructed a parallel parking spot that could be used as a handicapped parking space. But the code never reflected the use of that spot as a handicapped spot. And so this would just allow us to sign that spot as it was intended.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. 2016-78.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, amending Section 19-401, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Schedule V, Accessible Parking Spaces of the Code of the City of Jefferson by the removal of portions of East Capitol Avenue.
Thank you, Mr. Bang.
Yeah, again, this is kind of a cleanup, kind of like the previous bill. There's a space over on East Capitol that had been, by code, designated as a handicapped parking space. However, it's not been marked that way for a number of years, and so just basically clean up the code and have it reflect what we're doing in the field is what this bill is trying to do.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, 2016-79.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, authorizing the mayor and city clerk to execute a $117,470 agreement with Architect Alliance Incorporated for professional services.
Thank you. Chief Schofield?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This represents a contract for professional services, primarily architectural and engineering design work for 3 projects, all fire station facilities. The most important and probably more significant one is the rebuild or relocation of Fire Station Number 2 on the east end. The second is just a minor remodeling of Station 4 at 820 Ellis. And then the final one is just more of a feasibility study for the potential Station 6, which will be part of the land use agreement with the new St. Mary's Hospital and that property.
Thank you. Any questions for Chief Schofield? Okay. 2016-80.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, changing, amending, and modifying the zoning map of the zoning code of the City of Jefferson by rezoning .17 acres of land addressed as 612 Broadway Street from RA2 High Density Residential to C2 General Commercial and endorsing an associated comprehensive plan amendment.
Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First, orient you to the location of this request. This property is located on the west side of Broadway Street, mid-block between Elm and Dunklin Streets. Is located adjacent to the alley. The property is currently zoned in RA2, multifamily residential zoning district. You'll note on the zoning map on the screen that it's bordered on 2 sides by existing C2 general commercial zoning. This bill would rezone the property to a C2 category. The stated purpose of the request is to transform the property, which is currently in use as a 3-unit residential structure, into a business, into specifically a mechanical contractor. If rezoned to C2, transformation of the property to the business would be done in accordance with the city code and would likely involve the construction of a small parking lot. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Thank you. 2016-81.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, changing, amending, and modifying the zoning map of the zoning code of the City of Jefferson by rezoning .86 acres of land addressed as 617, 619, 621, and 623 East Capitol Avenue from C1 Neighborhood Commercial to PUD Planned Unit Development.
Thank you.
There are 2 bills associated with this. One is a rezoning and one is a preliminary PUD plan. I can present on both of them now.
Okay.
To orient to the location of the request, up on the screen is a location map. The property is at the corner of East Capitol Avenue and Lafayette Street, just a block away from the federal courthouse, and directly across Lafayette Street from the prison wall. The property is currently zoned as C1, that is a neighborhood commercial zoning district. And there are 3 buildings on the property, although all 3 buildings are connected. They share common walls, but there are 3 separate buildings located there on the property. The purpose of the rezoning to PUD and PUD plan is primarily to establish a unique set of uses for the property. And up on the screen, I've listed the specific uses that are proposed within the PUD plan for each of the 3 buildings. Within the 619 Capitol Avenue building, which is the westernmost, the upstairs is currently in use by Scene 1 Theater. And the downstairs is proposed for use as a music venue, including alcohol sales. The middle building, the 621 building, the upstairs is currently in use by Avenue HQ, which is an event center, and they also, for rent, and they also host comedy nights and similar entertainment events open to the general public. The downstairs is currently used and would continue to be used as storage. And then the 623 building, the one directly on the corner, is currently in use as office space and is proposed within the PUD plan for use as offices and artist studios. There's a couple other items within the PUD plan that are listed, specific hours of operation for the specific uses. There is concern, especially with the music venue and the alcohol sales, that the hours of operation within this area that includes a number of residential uses around it might be in conflict with that. And so hours of operation are proposed within the PUD plan. Also, some specific requirements regarding parking, specifically that there would be a cap in terms of maximum occupancy for the three businesses if they were to be used for large events, and then also some language regarding signage. As far as site improvements are concerned, there's only two. A small deck would be constructed at the rear of the 619 building to serve the music venue, and a small driveway along the side of the building to access a door that would go into the side of the music venue, and some stairs leading up to Capitol Avenue. Once again, the primary purpose of the PUD plan is to establish that unique mix of uses. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Okay, and Mrs. Powell, Mr. Barron did 81 and 82, so did you want to read 82 this time?
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri approving a preliminary PUD plan for property located at 617, 619, 621, and 623 East Capitol Avenue, described as all of in-lot 137 and part of in-lot 136, Jefferson City, Cole County, Missouri.
Okay, you've already presented on those two.
Yes, nothing more to add except that it is scheduled for a public hearing at the December 19th meeting of City Council.
Okay, thank you. 2016-83.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri approving a preliminary PUD plan amendment for property located at 1140 Boonville Road, described as lot of Somerset Meadow replat, Jefferson City, Cole County, Missouri.
Thank you, Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To orient you to the location of this property, up on screen is a location map. The property is on the north side of Boonville Road, just east of Highway 179. The property is owned a PUD, Planned Unit Development category. The purpose of this PUD zone, which consists of a single-family home, is to accommodate an in-home business. So there's an in-home business approved with the PUD plan for that property. It involves customers coming to the home to receive services. The purpose of this request is to amend that PUD plan for this property with the construction of an accessory structure, a garage and workshop. Up on the screen is a map of the property showing where the garage is proposed to be located. As proposed, it was an 1,800 square foot garage. The Planning and Zoning Commission voted to increase the maximum size of that garage to 2,400 square feet in order to give the property owner some flexibility with regards to its size and location. It was recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission and is scheduled for a public hearing on December 19th in front of the City Council. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any questions? Okay, thank you. 2016-84.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri changing, amending, and modifying the zoning map of the zoning code of the City of Jefferson by rezoning .12 acres of land addressed as 310 and 312 West Elm Street from C2 General Commercial to RA2 High Density Residential.
Thank you, Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Up on the screen is a location map showing this property. It is located on the north side of West Elm Street, just west of Broadway Street. The property is currently, has two different zoning districts located on it. The front portion of the property is zoned in RA2, a multifamily residential district, and the rear portion of the property is zoned a C2, a general commercial district. The rezoning of the rear of the property was done many years ago in order to accommodate the construction of a parking lot in that area. The property owner is now proposing to subdivide the property via the next council bill that's on the agenda. And in order to realign the zoning district boundaries that in a manner that would match the subdivision lot lines, is proposing a rezoning of a portion of the property from C2 to RA2. And if approved, this would leave the two houses located toward the front of the property, the lots that they are proposed on with the subdivision, entirely zoned residential. This matter was recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission and is scheduled for a public hearing in front of the City Council on December 19th.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. 2016-85.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri accepting and approving the final subdivision plat of in-lot 686 subdivision, 310-312 West Elm Street, a subdivision of the City of Jefferson, Missouri.
Mr. Barron?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is the same property located on the north side of West Elm Street, just west of Broadway Street. Again, the rezoning is to move the RA2-C2 boundary back to that line that's shown on the screen. The purpose is to align that boundary with the subdivision lot line that is shown on the final plat. The final plat would consist of 3 lots, one lot for each of the 2 houses located toward the front of the property, and then the third lot would be the parking lot toward the rear. Variances in order to approve the subdivision plat were necessary and were approved by the Board of Adjustment. Variances in terms of a small variance from lot width, and then also a variance for the parking lot as its only access is via the alley. And I'd be happy to, it was recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Thank you. 2016-86.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri authorizing a general fund supplemental appropriation of $15,000 within the fiscal year 2017 budget for the Capital Area Metropolitan Planning Organization.
Mrs. McMillan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The professional services contracts totaling $225,000 was in the Capital Area MPO budget for 2016. Those projects did not commence. Most of the funding was also included in the 2017 budget, but it was short $15,000. So we're asking for supplemental appropriation for that $15,000. It didn't get transferred over from the FY16 budget to the FY17 budget. So the projects that are planned that include a transit study, visioning activity, and travel demand model update can commence.
Any questions for Mrs. McMillan? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
2016-87.
An ordinance approving the East Capitol Avenue Urban Renewal Area Urban Renewal Plan.
Mrs. McMillan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Jefferson City Housing Authority, acting in its capacity as the Land Clearance for Redevelopment Authority, submitted the Capitol Avenue Urban Renewal Area Urban Renewal Plan to the city on November 23rd. This plan sets forth the general plan of action and the program that the Housing Authority proposes to undertake to address the problems documented in the qualifications for Chapter 99 LCRA designation for the East Capitol Avenue redevelopment area. And that study was done July 21st of this year, conducted by PGAV Planners of St. Louis. So the general plan of action and proposed urban renewal program will address the documented insanitary, blighted, deteriorated, or deteriorating areas within the urban renewal area and establish preservation of well-planned neighborhoods of decent homes, businesses, and suitable environment for all of those. For utilizing appropriate private and public businesses and resources to eliminate and prevent the development and spread of blight, and to encourage the needed urban rehabilitation, provide for redevelopment of blighted and sanitary, deteriorated and deteriorating areas, or to undertake other activities as may be suitable to achieve those objectives. Planning and Zoning Commission reviewed the plan and made some recommendations, and most of those changes were included in the plan. The only item that was excluded pertained to the issue of feral cats, and so those issues are being addressed by the Animal Control Authority. This matter is also scheduled for a public hearing on December 19th at 6 p.m. in the council chamber. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. McMillan? Councilman Mahalovich?
I want to take the opportunity to go ahead and support the testimony earlier given by Kathy Bordner with regard to urgency for the overlay district to be in place prior to start selling the buildings and on that process. And we will be studying that issue very thoroughly at all levels, I think, in order for us to get it right, because we have one chance to get these homes built in a manner consistent with the plans and in a manner that is consistent with what I think people want to have happen to the Capitol Avenue homes. So if we have no overlay district in place prior to the reconstruction of homes, we have no control over what becomes of that street. So I take their words to heart, and I will be looking into those issues. So I appreciate your comments.
Thank you, Councilman Mahalovich, and I believe that is very important. And I would almost say, rather than no control, there is some control over because of the current zoning that is in place. So we would have somewhat of control over that. Would that be correct, Mrs. McMillan?
If the zoning districts are currently a little bit of a patchwork. There's some control, but the zoning plan and the design standard plan would be the most suitable way to address those concerns.
Well, if I could, and I also think through the contracts that if the city's
Correct.
going to have contracts on those, through that process we would as well, and we bid those out, either us or the land clearing authority.
Yes,
so.
and it's my understanding that the housing authority would have control over what the ultimate redevelopment plan would be, and so that could be incorporated into the program.
I'm glad you brought that point up, Councilman Mahalovich, because that is a comment that has commonly been brought forward too, or questions even at some of the meetings of these other groups, as far as what does that mean since that overlay district is not totally in place, what can be done. And so either current zoning paired with what kind of stipulations and contracts the city would place on the future development. So that would all be helpful as well. But it's all very important. And I wonder, Mrs. McMillan, if you could outline just generally going forward after we vote on this at the next meeting, the next few steps that would occur in this process that would eventually lead to condemnation.
Well, I believe that would possibly be more appropriately addressed by Cynthia Quetch, the Director of the Housing Authority, or Ryan Molman, the City Councilor. But upon the Council's approval of this, there would be a subsequent agreement pertaining to the I guess the financial arrangements between the city and the housing authority. So I think that's the next step that will occur.
That's correct. The housing authority and myself were currently working on a funding agreement to figure out the responsibilities and any type of future acquisition of properties in the area, and anticipate bringing that to you at the 19th meeting.
Great. We'll look forward to having that. Thank you. Yes, Councilwoman Ward.
I just need some clarification regarding design guidelines. In this plan or in a contract that we enter with an individual who wants to purchase a property, we will be able to provide or enforce design guidelines if they choose to demolish and rebuild on that site. Is that correct? If we don't have that overlay district in place, that's the route we'll be able to take? Is that correct?
Ryan, you want to?
Sure. If a property is acquired by the housing authority and becomes essentially part of the city's inventory, and housing authority's inventory to find redevelopers, as part of any conveyancing document, contract for sale, you could include essentially design requirements and architectural review requirements, so that way what's getting built is within the vision of the plan. I will add that if any property is not acquired by the city and is purchased privately, from one landowner, private landowner to the next, the tax incentives that are a part of the LCRA program are still available to that person. And so that a private-to-private transaction would take them out of that process of enforcing design requirements through contract. And so, as Ms. McMillan indicated, a zoning change, an overlay, or whatever form that may take would be the way to control those types of redevelopments. So there's really a couple of different ways that property could change hands and ultimately get rebuilt. And so there's several different tools that could be available. And any good approach would address and utilize all the tools available.
One more question, and excuse me, and per contract, who is going to be deciding what that contract will include as far as design guidelines? Would those contracts come to City Council for ultimate approval? And would we have to say on those type of details?
It could. Ultimately, it's the housing authority that's the acquiring public agency, but as part of the partnership and as part of the the cooperation between the housing authority and the city, we could set up a system where those types of decisions are coming back through the council, because ultimately what's being contemplated is that the city is the major participant in financing of acquisitions in the area.
All right, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you. And on that note, too, I want to take this opportunity to thank the city and then also Housing Authority, the LCRA, and Planning and Zoning for all working together so quickly to get it here so that we could vote on it on the 19th to get it introduced here. They both called special meetings so that they could see this happen now. So I think all those organizations realize the importance of getting this moving and that everybody really is unified in the belief of how important this is for the revitalization, which is really evident in the fact that it's sitting here introduced this evening, which is great. Further questions, comments? No? Okay. Also wanted to mention that at the East Side Association's meeting on Friday, they did vote to endorse this urban renewal plan as well, and I believe they'll be presenting that at the next meeting. And then also Historic City of Jefferson could not be here this evening because they have an event this evening, but wanted to for me to mention that group, Historic City of Jefferson, is in favor of this bill and the appropriate steps being taken, and that they would also like to be available to provide input during this renovation, and that they appreciate the expediency due to the condition of many of the homes. All right. So that public hearing will be at the next meeting. Any further questions, comments? All right. 2016-88.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, repealing Ordinance 15586 and establishing election dates in the City of Jefferson, Missouri for 2017.
And this one also has a request to suspend the rules. Councilman Branch, would you like to make a motion?
I do request that we suspend the rules on this.
Okay, and hearing no objections, at this time I would ask Mr. Molman to explain this bill.
Thank you. This bill in particular is fairly simple in form, but has some larger ramifications. This bill amends the municipal election bill that was passed at the last meeting, which is required under city code to set forth the dates and procedures for the general municipal election in April 2017. This bill, what it does is add an election for a 4th Ward council person to serve the unexpired term, 1-year unexpired term of former council member Costalis. So basically, we have a general municipal election coming up. This ordinance makes it possible to go ahead and add the unexpired term of Mr. Costalis to that election, so we can have it at the same time as all other city elections in April. Included within the bill summary is some additional detail on how the city council may go about filling Mr. Costalis' seat until the April general election. Essentially, the process sets up a process where nominations are made by the city council, a 2-week waiting period, and public forum is held, and then the city council may elect an additional member to the city council. Because of requirements of the city code, these nominations cannot happen while filing for candidacy is open for that particular seat. Filing opens on December 13th next week, and so that would basically preclude our ability to have nominations for Mr. Costalis' seat until after filing closes on January 17th. So it pushes our schedule for filling that empty seat by the council until February. You could do it as soon as February 6th if special meetings are utilized, February 20th if no special meetings are utilized, and that council-filled position would serve until the municipal election in April. Winner of the election in April would then take the seat for the remainder of Mr. Costalis' term, which is 1 year. So it's pretty complicated, and I don't know if I made it any simpler, but I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Molman? Councilman Prather?
I do when it kind of pertains to that. You had mentioned the interim time between January and the election, and should we have, decide to have someone serve that intermediate term, and they had served before, say for example they have two years left or a term left, would that short term count as their term?
That's an excellent question. I don't know the answer to that question. I could certainly find it for you, but I'm not prepared to answer that right now.
That'd be great. Thank you.
No problem.
Any further questions of council deliberation? We've had a request to suspend the rules, so we'll have third reading.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri, repealing Ordinance 15-586 and establishing election dates in the City of Jefferson, Missouri for 2017.
All right. Any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Hussey.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward. Wiseman.
Aye.
Branch.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Bill passes. Item 13, bills pending 2016-67.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri approving a preliminary PUD plan amendment for property located at 2005 Shot Hill Woods Drive, described as part of Lot 60 of Shot Hill Woods, Section 2, Jefferson City, Cole County, Missouri.
Thank you. And there was already a motion to reconsider this at the 11/28 meeting. So at this time, the charter requires that it be taken up on December 19th. So we would entertain a motion to move this, or I guess a request to move it to the informal calendar for the public hearing on the 19th. Is that correct, Mr. Molman?
That's correct. Just some procedural maneuvering to get it on the appropriate calendar. We can't take it up until after public hearing is held under state law, and so this pushes it to an appropriate time where we can have the public hearing and then take up a vote on it.
Okay. And while we have this on the floor, before we move it to the informal, would you like to give us, I know there is a neighborhood meeting coming up, we could announce that date, and maybe give us a summary of this, Bill?
I would defer to Ms. McMillan.
McMillan, okay, Mrs. McMillan?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. A neighborhood meeting has been scheduled for Wednesday, December 14th at 5:30 p.m. in the multipurpose room of the Annex. And that's accessed from 305 East Miller. I will say that we did notify the neighbors of this property for the public hearing on the 19th. So they've all received notice, and a sign's been reposted on the property.
Okay, are there any questions of council about this bill or the procedure? Councilman Graham?
Madam Mayor, as the sponsor of this bill, I'd like to place it on the informal calendar.
Okay. And hearing no objections, we don't need a motion, just no objections. That will be placed on the informal calendar for the 19th. Okay, thank you. Item 2016-72 has already been taken up. 2016-73.
An ordinance of the City of Jefferson, Missouri accepting and approving the final subdivision plat of MERS Goodwill Consolidation Plat, a subdivision of the City of Jefferson, Missouri.
Thank you, Mr. Barron.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Up on the screen is a location map with the property highlighted. The property is located on the south side of South 10 Mile Drive, just west of Stone Ridge Parkway. It is adjacent to the Arby's restaurant. The property currently consists of 3 separate tracts, one tract around each of 2 houses, and then a small tract that was purchased in order to create a area of size to accommodate the construction of a Goodwill store. The purpose of the plat, which is shown up on the screen, is to consolidate those 3 tracts into a single lot. And with that, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this matter, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions of council? All right. Mrs. Powell, roll call, please.
Henry.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward. Aye. Wiseman.
Aye.
Branch.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Bill passes. Item 14, nothing on the informal calendar. Item 15, resolutions, RS 2016-27.
A resolution authorizing the City of Jefferson to enter into an automatic aid agreement to provide aid when needed.
Is there a motion to approve?
Second.
Chief Schofield.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This resolution would authorize us to enter into an automatic aid agreement. The language is taken out of state statute and is pretty standard. In this case, we would be on the giving end. As you may recall, during the Missouri River Bridge closure, we were on the receiving end of an automatic aid arrangement, which is now concluded. This particular area is difficult to access for the Osage Fire Protection District on the eastern edge of the city's border. The area in question is the road, Liberty Road, between the city limits and the Rising Creek Bridge. The bridge is going to be completely replaced. The construction timeline is roughly 90 to 120 days. They were anticipating starting yesterday, but they may not actually take the bridge out to the end of this week or early next week. So we would request the ability to provide services for the roughly 20 residents and businesses that are on the western part of the inaccessible area.
Any questions for Chief Schofield? All right. Roll call, please.
Mahalovich.
Aye.
Prather.
Aye.
Schreiber.
Aye.
Ward. Aye. Wiseman.
Aye.
Branch.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Henry.
Aye.
Hussey.
Aye.
Resolution passes. Item 16, presentations from the gallery on other topics. Individuals limited to 3 minutes without exception, and we have Mr. Leonard Steinman signed up for that. Welcome.
Thank you. Leonard Steinman, 2217 West Edgewood, Jefferson City, Missouri. Tomorrow is December 7th, 75 years ago. Jefferson City, I'm very, very proud of one.
Do you want to pull the mic down?
I'm very, very proud of one person of Jefferson City. It was at Pearl Harbor as a medic. basically a corpsman. Mr. McInerney, I'm going to say the name wrong because I always do. Chief McInerney was there 75 years ago. Please, as citizens of Jefferson City, fly your flag with pride. There was a lot of people, including my father, that put a lot of effort in World War II so we could have our civil liberties. And if you are a military veteran, please put your green bulb in your light, because this is a very important part of the United States, because there's only 1% of the United States that serves in the military. And we've all basically have given a lot for World War II and December 7th. So please fly your flag with pride. Thank you.
Thank you for those comments, Mr. Steinman. Item 17, council and staff discussion of presentation topics. Item 18, any new business? 19, unfinished business? 20, approval of closed session minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Mrs. Powell, roll call, please.
Branch,
Aye.
Graham,
Aye.
Henry,
Aye.
Hussey,
Aye.
Mahalovich,
Aye.
Prather,
Aye.
Schreiber, Ward,
Aye.
Wiseman.
Aye.
Motion passes. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right. All in favor? We are adjourned.